Hello, and welcome to Your Place. I am Dennis McGinn, founder and CEO of vehicle reconditioning and communications company, Rapid Recon. 3 times a month at Your Place, we visit guests at their place to engage in conversations about the auto industry. Today, our guest is Mark Paul, who is the president and CEO of AutoAp. So Mark has done a new paper. Every time I look at a new report, I get confused. So maybe you could kind of give us the straight scoop.
Oh, hey, good morning. I'm glad I could be here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate that. Yeah, so the reason I wrote that report, Safety Recall State of the Retail Industry, is, most people we talk with are unaware of the errors and timing delays that exist in the safety recall information, and that's including from Safer Car, the VHRs, even the OEMs, and certainly other vendors. And so as a result, dealers are buying and selling vehicles with open safety recalls and don't know it, or they're checking every vehicle every day manually with multiple sources and, doing the reporting and all that. That's cost prohibitive. So our services were created to solve these problems and provide integration partners as well with the industry's most accurate and timely safety recall information to help them increase their profits, reduce their liability, reduce the risks of consumers, generate additional warranty reimbursement, and if it's automated, save time and money. Most dealers we talk with are unaware of that, and once they recognize and once they have an automated system in place, they realize they can bring down their open rate. And what I mean by open rate is if you have 100 vehicles and you got 10 vehicles with an open recall or one or more, that's a 10% open rate, right? And so I've laid out the stats in different states, different brands in terms of open rates, remedies availability, delays in the ecosystem, errors, and so on and so forth. And so just for educational purposes and awareness, so dealers can look at this and say, well, maybe I'm not all buttoned up. And in fact, that's what our clients tell us all the time is, I can sleep better at night because I know we got this thing covered.
So, Mark, I like statistics, and I know you have them right at your fingertips. But if I'm a dealer and I'm processing maybe 150 used cars a month, I'm getting them now from wherever I can get them, and
Right.
right, and ideally, I'd like to turn them all over the same month, but realistically, it takes me about 2 months or a little less, even today's market. So at any one time, how many of those 150 cars would you expect are going to have open safety recalls?
Get a stat and we say, well, what are your open rates? And independents are around 20%, 17 to 20%. Franchise dealers are sort of 15%. Of course, plus or minus, there's big ranges here, whether they're really on it. And so
Yeah.
they're certainly better, but the challenges and what we find is our power users open rates are around 2.5%. That means that delta between what's on your lot, whatever that number is, and sort of 2.5% are vehicles with open safety recalls that dealers don't know about. And so, and the problem is it might be clean when you acquire it, and then a recall comes out the next day, and most dealers we talk with might check it on onboarding when they acquire it, and might check it when they sell it, but in between they say, well, it was clean when we got it, and but a recall could come out the next day, the next week, a day before you sell it, and that just causes all kinds of problems. Not only legal problems, but if you find out, even if you find out that there's a recall right before you sell it, now you're scrambling for the part if there is one. You're trying to talk to the customer and keep them in there while you go repair it. I mean, it's just a nightmare from a customer
Yeah.
satisfaction perspective.
Do you think most consumers these days are pretty aware of the magnitude of the recall situation? In other words, they're concerned enough they're going to be asking those questions.
Some are absolutely. It's the areas of misinformation or knowledge or awareness, right? The OEMs, dealer body, and other rental car companies and so on, and consumers. And it's really interesting to hear the OEMs say, yeah, even some dealers say, yeah, the consumers don't come in once they get a notice. Well, sometimes they don't get notices, and many times they don't get notices. Once they get it, then if they start looking for some place to to get it repaired, then as a dealer you're going to want to be first in line to get that, of course.
Digging into this a little bit more, and it maybe go a little bit off your report, but a dealership, whether it's independent or franchise, is a busy place. I mean, they got a lot of priorities and a lot of things they're juggling, and they're typically preoccupied with all kinds of things. So one of the tricks, I think, is as these things come up and that they get addressed, that the person that's ultimately responsible in the dealership for making sure this happens, it gets a notice, gets some kind of confirmation. How does that work?
You brought up a really good point when you said the person that's responsible for that. Our experience with dealers is the following, and it's really important to understand. What we call that person is a point person, and most of the time, as you mentioned, and is true, is they're too busy selling, servicing, financing, and insuring vehicles. I mean, that's their job. They do it really well. They're very busy doing that. And then the other thing is a policy. A majority of dealers do not have a written policy. I've talked with some folks and they say, you have a policy. In fact, just yesterday I was talking to a fairly large auto group, got more than 30 stores. And I said, well, do you have a policy? Oh, yeah. By policy, do you mean we don't sell a car, we don't retail a car with an open safety recall? I said, no, a written safety recall policy that everybody, it's written, everybody has seen it, everybody has signed it, and once a year, even if it's 15 minutes, you go over it. He goes, yeah, no, we don't have one of those. I said, I could hear him writing it down. So, so imagine if something bad happens, same exact vehicle gets sold, or type of vehicle with a recall, something bad happens in both cases. What's going to happen legally? In fact, the chances are dealership A won't sell that vehicle that's got a problem. They'll have fixed it, but if for some reason something slips through the crack, dealership A is all buttoned up. It comes time for a lawsuit. We're not attorneys. We can't, no legal advice. But I've heard some dealers say, yeah, when we have everything written down, these guys are going to get treble damages, just on and on. But the core thing is dealership A probably would not have sold that vehicle with an open safety recall. So some key tenets that I go over in that report, as well as the book I wrote in 2019, is what can dealers do about it? Number one is to have a written policy that everybody signs. And so the dealer principal looks at this and says, yeah, I got to work with my attorney and my state auto dealer association, because they're very up on the laws and so on, and what's right for them. We've got a template. We'd be glad to send that out to anybody who wants one. It's pretty draconian because we don't, run a dealership, but have that policy written up and have people sign it. Have a point person, and that point person's role and a backup is to really understand what's going on at the dealership, make sure everybody who needs to get that daily report gets the daily report, as well as consumer disclosure statements in the business office and the reasons for doing that, and that there's somebody to go to, right? So you've heard the old saying, if everybody's responsible for quality, no one's responsible for quality. So get a point person, get systems automated. I mean, your Rapid Recon's all about automation and communication and professionalizing the reconditioning process, saving all kinds of time and money. So it not only saves the time and money, but the errors that creep in by manually doing things is reduced. And so if it's automated, you're going to catch stuff. And that's why the open rates for our power users is down about 2.5% versus the average of sort of 17% with independents and franchise dealers. I think the number one reason our clients tell us about it, and I'm sure yours do too, they can sleep better at night. I mean, that's just like, because that frees me up to go sell and service vehicles.
I want to make sure that this doesn't come back on me. So what do you hear from from those people, or from at groups where there's somebody that's watching out for multiple stores? What do you hear from them? What do they keep, what keeps them up at night?
The number one issue is reducing their liability, staying in compliance, and making sure they don't sell vehicles with open recalls. They don't want to hurt their customers. They're very interested in customer satisfaction, and more, way beyond customer satisfaction, is knowing that because they know these people's families. I mean, the dealers that we work with, it's a long-term relationship, and they very personal, dealership, if you will. They really care about their customers, and they don't want to hurt them. What our clients will come back and say yeah, we're actually making more money than we thought because we're finding these recalls, and it more than pays for itself. Brad Preble at Car Auto Group says, yeah, it pays for itself 10 times every month. We did a press release on some information with Rapid Recon, whereas over a couple of years, we were able to identify $16 million worth of safety recall work over your dealer body at that time. First off, if I'm acquiring a vehicle, I can make even better decisions by understanding if it's got a safety recall before I buy. If it's got a stop sale, no remedy off brand, that's a different equation than an in brand that I can make money off with two recalls on that vehicle. And so that'll help me in the profitability area when I acquire a vehicle. Certainly in inventory, I want to sleep better at night because I want to make sure I'm not selling a vehicle with open safety recall. So that's kind of a compliance area more than anything. And then post sale, I can get my customers back in and be proactive with going and getting them. And so, we're going to protect them. Maybe it's got a stop sale. We're going to go drive a vehicle out there and bring theirs back. I mean, the CSI scores just go off, just are amazing. And they can provide that service and generate a ton more revenue if they're proactive and get all that stuff in an automated way. And it's a money-making machine that also protects the dealership and customers.
One more specific question here, which is that, of course, in the U.S., there's a standard in the industry with NHTSA where the OEMs have to report open safety recalls through them. But all NHTSA information is not equal. And I think you particularly you have some idea of what sources to go deeper and to double check or triple check. Maybe you could make a comment about that.
We dug deeper in it and we said, well, let's just download the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA's. Let's download NHTSA's database. How hard can it be to put that into our consumer app? And we found a 30% error rate, and those errors persist today. In addition to reducing liability, it reduces risk to their customers, as well as, they might be fined by NHTSA by missing these recalls. Really, when we're looking towards the future, the question is, are recalls going to go away? I mean, in '99 with the Firestone recalls, and then the brouhaha, and then kind of went away, right? And in your statement about, every month I'm reading this, well, it's every day. They just don't all get into the paper. So almost every day something happens, whether it's official or what we call a sneaker recall, where an OEM extends or expands that to different models or years, or just within the same, they kind of, it affects more VINs, and none of the paperwork's really updated. And so again, the most diligent dealer isn't going to know that. So what about the future? Are they going to go away? There was just a report, I think yesterday, that said, oh yeah, there's not as many recalls. It's like, well, okay, we've got autonomous vehicles, we've got electric vehicles, we've got more complex we have safety features. By definition, when a safety feature goes south, whether it's software or hardware or whatever, it's a safety recall. We feel safety recalls are here to stay, and they're going to continue growing, if you will. You've got fewer moving parts in a battery than an engine. Okay, well, there's more than just the battery that makes the car go.
Well, thank you. Thanks a lot, Mark. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.